सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। पेज नंबर 9। कटाक्षकिरणाचान्त नमन्मोहाब्धये नमः। अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये। Yesterday we saw that there are some introductory texts which are called Prakarana Grantha, which introduces the framework of understanding Vedanta, specifically Advaita Vedanta. After having done the Shravana of this kind of Prakarana Granthas, Atmabodha, Tattvabodha, Bhaja Govindam, Sadhana Panchakam, Upadesha Saram, then comes the Manana Grantha. After having heard, after having listened to several of these to structure the very framework of understanding, then the Manana has to begin. So in the Manana Grantha, we will observe that the basic infrastructure of the framework is not touched upon. There is no sadhana chatushtaya given, there is no preliminary qualifiers as to how we have to find discipline, dedication, devotion and discrimination required. Those topics are not touched upon. The expectation is that the seeker has already been aware of it, practicing it. Therefore, the manana is taken into direct perspective. Shravana is for jnana, manana is for sandeha nivritti, and nididhyasana is for abiding in that truth, establishing oneself by removing the erroneous habitual patterns. Viparyaya has to be removed. Is it the fan? No, those are all lights. Is the sound coming from the speaker? Can you turn it that side? So the source is recognized. Turn that off. The upper one. Just like how we together identified where the source of this irritable noise is arriving from, without identifying it, removing that irritation is not possible. Similarly, nididhyasana is to understand that though jnana has been arrived at, still the abiding or abidance in that jnana is not established because of our habitual patterns through which we commit that same error again and again. Now, even before this, the preliminary step should be the manana, wherein all aspects of doubts have to be clarified. Doubts like how, though we say that I am Saccidananda, I have a big void, a gap in my understanding and experience, wherein though logically I understand I am Saccidananda, experientially the gap says, how can I be Saccidananda? Or like yesterday we had that discussion that Brahman is Nirvikara, Ishvara is Savikara, Jiva is somebody who is completely ensnared in avidya. So then, if this is a projection, why do I still exist in this limitation? It is a projection for who? Because we tend to shift the standpoints, and wherever the standpoint from which we are evaluating shifts, confusion arrives. What is the satta or the standpoint? The satta or standpoint of Brahman has to be understood properly. The satta of the jiva has to be understood properly. The satta of the Ishvara has to be understood properly. Thereby, as an extension, the Jagat also has to be understood properly. Each one have their own standpoint or realm of reference. So we take the Ishvariya Satta and try to evaluate the Jiva in that framework. Confusion will arrive. Or take it from the absolute, and because of the subtle switch that our intellect is making, which we are not cognizing, we say that Vedanta is very confusing. If we understand the perspective and the layer of sattā in which it is operating, there is nothing more simpler than this. And the moment I say that there is nothing more simpler than this, we probably will roll our eyes from this end to that end like a Kathakali dancer. Come on, that cannot be true. Because the confusion persists and my anubhava says something other than what I have tried assimilating as my intellectual capacity. Now, in such layers, what is necessary or what is missing is our manana. Sandeha has to be removed. Therefore, when somebody claims that Hinduism is a very dogmatic religion, I challenge them open-endedly, butt heads with them, say that where in any other religious practice do you find this openness wherein you are allowed to ask questions, challenge the very proposition which has been given, the logic which has been given, until you come to the point of understanding. No other religion operates in such openness. There are certain dictums of do's and don'ts, and thou shalt follow it. If not, you are not considered as a follower. Only here is the platform pariprashnena sevaya. The Guru seva that has to be done is not limited to just pressing the feet or pressing the clothes or feeding food as bhiksha. It has to be much subtler than that. See, when you go to the musician, you may offer all these kinds of physical aspects of seva, but what is the absoluteness for which you have gone to the music teacher? To excel in that particular field, that particular realm of music. Similarly, here this Vedanta Vichara encourages the student to challenge, and that is where the Manana text comes into picture. So in the Manana text you will not find the precursors that are required. There is no sadhana chatushtaya given, there is no preparatory work required that is given. It is assumed that you have already done Shravana and understood and started practicing it. So all those of us who are here, the assumption is that we are already trying to practice all of that. Therefore, this book, this is an unusual book because he doesn't say, how can I be this Brahma Tattva? How can I be this Saccidananda? His manana method is, how can you not be that? That audacity to bring forth that kind of logic saying, how can you call yourself to be a sansari again? How can you call or claim yourself to be limited again? So in this Manana text, he begins with the first sloka, kaṭākṣakiraṇācāntanamanmohābdhaye namaḥ, anantānandakṛṣṇāya jaganmaṅgalamūrtaye. Mohabdhaye. We live from one layer of delusion to the other, continuously stretching forth. What is moha? Wrong assertion of something to be the cause of my state of peace, happiness and security. Knowing very well that that is very limited amount. Initially we had the irritation because the juice in the mic was not there. Now there is peace. Until when until that juice runs out. See, knowing that the juice will run out and it is temporary and still functioning, knowing and not getting entrapped by it, there is a sense of freedom. Freedom in our expression of interaction. But the moha is where we say, I am not happy with you. I am not happy with this environment. I am not satisfied. Nothing of this can give that happiness, satisfaction, joy or security. Knowing and yet still trying to expect it, because we are very hopeful people. We keep expecting and the hope is extended that maybe tomorrow, maybe somewhere else I can find that in that very environment. Otherwise, we have a knee-jerk effect. And the knee-jerk effect is, all of this doesn't, therefore I run away from it. Both are the extensions of moha. Then we get into either Abhimanyu syndrome or the father syndrome, Arjuna syndrome. We go in not knowing how to get out. That is Abhimanyu syndrome. Or we don't want to go in. That is the father syndrome, Arjuna syndrome. He says, Bhagavan, pull the chariot. He says, where do you want me to lead to? Who do you want to fight? He says, no, to run away. So Bhagavan takes the chariot right in front of Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah. So that whatever is the confusion, let it spit out when you see the inevitable, that these are the ones that you have to fight. And even in there is no dictum. He spends a solid 700 shlokas to explain to Arjuna, first listen to him thoroughly and then explain to him to remove that confusion, wherein he arrives to that point wherein he says, Nashto mohaha smritir labdha, that my moha is done. Smritihi labdha. All that which I have been educated in, the Shastra Vichara has been rekindled. Mohabdhaye, in the Sargara of Moha. See, we have heard of Bhavasagara, Samsara Sagara. The root cause for both of them, the Bhavasagara and the Samsara Sagara, is the Moha. He says the Moha itself is Sagara. To that who Achanta, Achamana is to take a sip. How difficult is the process? Even those who are doing the puja for the first time, when the pujari is asking you to do the Achamana, it's confusing, right? Which hand to pick what and then pour where and then sip what. Especially when we are doing Sankalpa, take the flowers in your right hand, then put it in your fist, and then put it on your left hand, put it on your right thigh, and they put it on the other right thigh. So similarly, which hand to put? Once you understand the process, the act is very, very simple, effortless. So to that Krishna who can dry up this mohabdhi just as a sip, though it is sipped away, there is still the reminiscence. So he says, kaṭākṣakiraṇācāntanamanmohābdhaye. Just by the corner of the eye, when Bhagavan Krishna graces upon that seeker, Who is that seeker? Namaḥ. Namanmohābdhaye namaḥ. So somebody very beautifully interpreted it, though it is a very, very far stretch. The one who has namaḥ, the one who has surrendered that mana at the feet of Bhagavan. Namaḥ, namaskara, is the act wherein, when we say namaste, it's such a beautiful sentence. If you have to put it in a complete sentence, aham tvam namaskaromi. But that is shortened in saying namaḥ te. What is important is you, the divine, and the act of surrendering. The one who is surrendering, aham, is not there in that sentence, namaste. Though we do lot of namaste, kuch nahi samajhte. That in the act there has to be complete surrenderance. So for them, after having sipped away all the mohabdi, with the kaṭākṣakiraṇā, with the rays of his katāksha, grace, just like the sunlight after a rainy day, however big be the pool of water, with the immense heat of that rays, all of this evaporates and dries up. Similarly, whatever is remaining, it also dries up just because of the grace of Bhagavan. Now, this is a poetic expression. Don't take it literally. Swamiji, I am going to the temple every single day, waiting for Bhagavan to sip away the moha and dry it away. Now, what does he mean by sipping it away and drying it? Yes, he provides as his grace Shastra and Guru in our life. In Dakshinamurti Stotram, when it said, Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam, that there is this efficient dialogue of silence. Even Dakshinamurti Bhagavan has to use words. But the words that are used are not direct, but they are implied meaning. Why is it implied? Because it is that padartha which cannot be explained in words. Therefore, an indirect method is used, implied method is used, wherein all that which it is not is described, whatever is remaining is what is the nature. Therefore, an indirect method is being shown, not a direct method. Because we are very much fluent in the language of direct speech. And wherever there is indirect, we say, Sarigga chappach kada, direct ga chappach kada. We get a little irritated with the indirectness. This is that directness which we are constantly habituated to, that is silent. Implied is given. And the people also get frustrated when that is all that is said, but what is it that is not given? See, when we chant even Nirvana Shatkam, this naham, that also naham. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham. Nacha shrotra jikve, nacha prani, that also naham. All naham, then what am I? The directness is silent. Similarly here, when the entire mohabdi is achamanavat pibati saha, he just consumes it effortlessly like the achamana and dries it up with the kaṭākṣakiraṇā. Means he provides the right environment, and the right environment is when we have, as Adi Shankaracharya ji puts it in Viveka Chudamani, he says, Durlabham Trayam Evaitat. These three are very, very rare, difficult to procure. Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshrayaha. Manushyatvam, to be born as a human. Mumukshutvam, to have the burning desire for liberation. And the last one, Mahapurusha Samshrayaha, the one that can translate that wisdom of scriptures in a language that I and you can understand clearly. And if there are doubts, if there are questions and queries, lovingly explains it again and again and again. Because where are we embedded? We are embedded in our doubts. We want to understand, but our own wrong framework keeps us away from it. To such Karunika, Bhagavan Krishna, anantānandakṛṣṇāya, again as I said yesterday, Anantānanda happens to be his guru's name also, Anantānandendra Saraswati. Because he had taken sannyasa, Lakshmidhara Kavi, and then he became Krishnānandendra Saraswati. So his guru Anantānandendra Saraswati, that also is worshipfully mentioned. And to that Krishna who is Anantānanda. Ananta, that which has no limitations. Therefore Ananta. And Ananda, that which is complete unto itself, which reflects as Ananda in the Antakarana. To such Krishna, jaganmaṅgalamūrtaye. What is the most Mangalakara for a seeker? That in spite of being in samsara panka nirmagnav, in spite of being completely drowned in the muddy waters of samsara, he still provides a lifesaver. On a boat, there are these little tubes with a hole in between. So you can say it is a holy tube. That those who are sinking into that samsara sagara throw that lifeline so that we can start having a floater and then come to safety. That is the Mangala which Ya Vidya Sa Vimuktaye. This comes in Devi Saptashati, Durga Saptashati. That is Vidya which liberates us. Everything else is Vyavaharika Jnana. Only that which liberates can be that Vidya. So providing that Vidya, the right environment of Guru and Shastra for us to understand, deliberate and get past our sandeha. Not because the scripture says so, because I understand it so. So let us begin the second shloka. Ahamasmi sadā bhāmi, kadācinnāhamapriyaḥ, brahmaivā'hamataḥ siddhaṃ, saccidānandalakṣaṇam. Ahamasmi saccidānandalakṣaṇam. I am undoubtedly of the lakshana, the nature of Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, existential principle, existence. Chit, conscious principle. Ananda, bliss principle. This is my very nature. And we are like, sir, we are just beginning. Your opening statement itself, how do you get to that point? He says, it's very obvious, isn't it? How obvious is it? He says, ahamasmi. So, 3 questions, 3 or 4 questions. First question, do we all exist? Thankfully, you have all answered yes. If you turn around to your neighbor and ask for a verification, then nearby there is a place called Erragadda. There is a different place for such. I exist. Do you exist? I exist. Second question, do you know that you exist? Undoubtedly. I exist. I know that I exist. Now the third one is, do we exist as what? Conscious of what? Therefore, all the prayatna of every jiva is only for that third element. We never say that my effort is for existence. My seeking is for consciousness. All my seeking and effort is for trying to be happy. Now this has to be evaluated very, very meticulously. Because right in the beginning, it is a straight sixer. A straight sixer out of the stadium. Ahamasmi. I exist. The moment I say I exist, immediately the mind runs to start ascertaining as what. I exist, but as what? Man, woman, young, old, educated, uneducated. If educated, you should ask the lawyers. They have such long, they beat even the doctors. BA, LLB, and continue with ABCDEFG. Even the doctors have a very long attributes. That I am not just MBBS. Along with that MBBS, I have several qualifiers, attributes. Exist, but exist as what? Here, the author, Lakshmidhara Kavi, he says, that is immaterial. What you exist as is where samsara begins. Whatever you exist as, immaterial of it, Can you exist as something without you existing? Wherever I am, it has to begin with I am. The amness. In that I am, the amness, I am, I exist. Then it proceeds to the other layers. But instead of focusing on I am, all of us are interested in as what? The entire biodata. There is a physical biodata. Tall, dark, handsome. Or the other way. Whatever be the attribute, physical biodata. I am athletic. I am a couch potato. I do not do all that kind of, unnecessary thing. I am happy sitting, watching, reading newspaper. बस खुश है. I am, but as what is where our focus is. When we have to introduce someone, we want to show their greatness, not as existence, but as what? Once I was being introduced, I was visiting, I used to live in US, so I used to visit either in Nellore or Ongole. So that person, that gentleman who was introducing, he says, Swami eppudu flight lone tirugutuntadu. In US you don't have any other method. But that is now an attribute. See, where we get lost, we create a bio, and there was another bio created as soon as I came. Every time that line is read, I have to maintain a straight face, but inside I am jumping. He is a management guru. When did I become that? I keep scratching inside. Because what is important is not is, but as what. And all the presentation that we have is about as what, but not is. Now going a little, there is a biodata of the internal, the mind. The mind is sharp. The mind is dull. The mind is agitated. The mind is, you have to be, and then the extension of what that mind is running into with different shades. But that easiness is forgotten, the amness is forgotten. We keep tossing around in the different momentums of that mind and its functionality. That is our biodata. So when we come back from office, we announce to the family, I am irritated today, don't disturb me. Otherwise, the biodata given. Similarly, the intellect and its biodata. Constantly we are shuffling only in these realms. Whatever realms, whatever shade of that realm that we are existing as. All that is a possibility only if I exist. Ahamasmi. That is one common factor through and through. But this is only the waking world. As soon as we go into the dream world, the entities are different. This time, space and entity is different. That time, space and entity are different. Have you ever slept and dreamt of a very long period and then you woke up only to realize that you are sleeping for half an hour? So that time frame there, that space there, and that entity that is entertaining all that is entirely different from the time, space and the experience or the experiencer called the waker. Even that is a possibility for the mind to project, because I exist. Now continuing the next layer, I sleep. Even during the sleep, all the earlier frameworks of time and space and experience are absent. Absence of the experience is also an experience. Earlier, the mind was functioning, there was a waking world, then there is a dream world. That which is projecting and connecting with these two worlds is now withdrawn. There is no experience. But then, when I wake up, what do I say? I had good sleep. Absence of all these experiences is also an experience of something which is a possibility, because I continue to exist through that phase as well. Undeniable. The sharira changes, but our habit is I attribute that change to myself. Say, I am old. You are not old. Existence has no age to it. The body is getting old. The mind is agitated or calm. It is the attribute of that mind. But then what do I say? I am agitated. The amness has no attribute of this mind either. He says, irrespective of which phase that the body is or the mind is running into or the intellect is, it doesn't matter. All of those are a possibility only if I exist. Undeniable aspect. Ahamasmi. Undeniably. And not just exist as inert. I am consciously existing. Conscious of what is immaterial. See, as soon as you came into the class, you became conscious of the chair that you are sitting in, the sound that the mic was making, the sound, probably what the fan was making. Conscious of what is immaterial. You are being conscious of you listening. See, when I say I am listening, sometimes we shorten it. We only say the verb. What are you doing? Listening. Thank you. But it has already presupposed I am in that listening. Amness is the existence. I is the conscious principle. Identified with the layers, I become limited. I act as though I am limited. Adi Shankaracharya loves that word. He says, Iva Shabdataha. Iva means as though, as if limited. Because I consider myself as a limitation. We are not talking of conscious of what? Just the presence of you being conscious. I am. I exist. The amness and the I is the self, which is the nature of consciousness. And these two factors do not require any amount of any kind of validation. I existing as this name, this vritti, this kind of vyavahara might require an ID card. When you go these days to the offices, you have a biometric. I was surprised. Even the students getting into the school, they have a biometric. I was in that Andhra Mahila Sabha management school. As they were getting in, all the students should scan their ID and put their fingerprint. And the moment they put it, the time is mapped. What time did you arrive in? If you leave without scanning, it will start beeping. So you functioning as what might require a ID. But I am is independent of any kind of validation of authority to say I exist. I do not require anybody's validation. Do you have to turn to somebody and say, hey, मैं हूँ क्या? हाँ तू है. You don't require a validation from anyone, anything, anywhere. Swatah siddhaṃ. I exist consciously is self-evident. Swatah siddhaṃ. Doesn't require anybody else's, anywhere else's or the Shastra's pramana. Therefore, he says, put the Shastra aside. I am not even talking of Shastra, he says. I am and I am conscious of it. Isn't that a proof enough? Can you deny it? All that which is other than I and am can be denied, can be acquired, can be lost, can be regained. In Bhagavad Gita's language, we call that as kshetra. 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Idam kshetram. All of this is kshetra. I am is the kshetrajna. Ahamasmi sadā bhāmi. Now how does he prove Ananda? He says, kadācinnāhamapriyaḥ. What a beautiful angle to look at it. He says, I am never someone who dislikes myself. The presupposition in this logic is, all that which I say I get joy out of is because I like it first. I like, therefore I have joy out of it. Have you ever made a statement, I don't like it, but I enjoy it? Not possible. I like, therefore I enjoy it. Whether it is music, whether it is food, whether it is people, whether it is environment, all of this, therefore in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad what is said? Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. That as long as it gives me joy, therefore I like things. As long as it gives me joy, I like things. The moment there is a variation and a tangent that it is not giving me that joy anymore, see, ask any parent, who is it that you love the most? The children, of course. They feel so indignant that you have even asked such question. Of course, children. But it is the same parent that is looking for an opportunity to send their children away for 1.5 hours of Balavihar so that they get the time to themselves. Why? Atmanastu kamaya apriyam bhavati. So they need time for themselves. The lover tells to the beloved, I cannot think of a moment without you. How can I exist without you? And then sleeps. In sleep, not only that the beloved was absent, you yourself were also absent. If the earlier statement was true, you should have refused to sleep. But you abandon everything, right? Because more than the beloved, what is of more liking? The sleep. क्या झूठ बोलते हैं हम लोग? प्रिय तुम बिन, without you this world looks so empty. I cannot imagine myself without you. So for a bachelor, wife wanders invited forever. Few years into marriage, the same fellow will say, worries, invited forever. I cannot live without you now becomes, I cannot live in the same place where you are. Give me my space. Give me my possibility, room, elbow space, room. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. If the logic is understood, it says, who is it that we love the most? The self. Is there any moment where I have not liked the self? See, those who say, I hate myself. What you are hating is not the self. One day there was, right here, People came to meet, and there suddenly somebody said, you are all standing there, let me take a photo. So one girl went from this side to this side. And the justification given is, I don't like my profile from this angle, but from this angle it looks better. I say, I don't like myself from this angle, meaning, what is she talking about? Not the self. It is the body. Even those that end up not liking themselves and even take a drastic act of committing suicide. What a misnomer. It is called khud khushi. That when translated into Hindi, they call khud khushi. Khud ke khushi ke liye. So that they can get rid of that which they don't like. The dislike is not to the self. The dislike is about the sharira. The dislike is maybe the environment that you are in, or the kind of dishonor that you are in, or the kind of gossip that is going around, which has led to that dishonor. Therefore you cannot stand that, therefore you have to. Children commit suicide. Why? I did not get good marks. Therefore I cannot face the parents, I cannot face my friends, I cannot face the environment. What are you disliking? The result. I have done lot of loans, I cannot repay. The pressure is mounting up. Therefore, now if there is something provided saying, there is a particular source that will redeem you of your debts, do you want to die? No. It says re-evaluating papers, it is said that, it was wrongly calculated, now you are in first class. Do you want to die? The dislike is not to the self, it is to the other parameters. The like to the self is the highest. So he then concludes saying that the like everything around in life is because it can provide joy. This is like the most because the ananda is very much your swarupa. Cannot be any other reason. That's why I said, a very different way of approaching to prove that the self is of the nature of ananda, because you like it the most. How does he say it? He says, kadācinnāhamapriyaḥ. I don't dislike myself in any circumstance. Atayeva swayam siddhaṃ. Therefore it is self-evident that I exist as consciousness and I exist as ananda. Wrongly not understanding it because of my delusion, I start seeking validation for my existence, validation for my understanding, validation for my ananda from everything around, thereby limiting myself. Therefore he says, brahmaivā'hamataḥ siddhaṃ. This is the very nature of that Brahman as well, that it is consciousness which exists throbbing as ananda. Therefore, I can be nothing less than Brahman. How can I be anything other than Brahman? What an approach. He doesn't take the Ghisa Pita Jivatva and then constantly keep crying that, I think I am therefore I should be something other than. He doesn't take that. I am Brahman. Why? I exist consciously. I never dislike myself. Therefore I should be Ananda. Therefore I can be only Saccidananda. It's almost like challenging us all, saying, दम है तो wrong करके prove करके दिखाओ. It's so simplified logic, a direct approach. Therefore his all other 27 shlokas is, I am Sakshi for this. Therefore I am Brahman. Therefore I cannot be anything other than that. Then he takes Chaitanya, he takes the conscious principle, he takes the existential principle, he takes the Ananda principle, he takes the Anantatva. In each shloka, he says, how can I be anything other than Brahman? Logically, it is nothing but Brahman. If anything understood as other than Brahman, it has to be Moha only. How beautifully, logically simplified approach. Now our job is to challenge his thinking. He says, but, come up with your buts. If, come up with your ifs. It's so infallible as a logic that whatever you bring to this logic burns and turns into ashes immediately. It says, Atayeva aham brahma eva siddhaṃ. It is self-evident. Therefore I am Saccidananda Swarupa. Very powerful thought. We'll continue tomorrow again. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaः, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyid Dukkha Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.